So whenever I talk about the center and that we're developing 27,000 square feet of training space, people are like, in New York City, how did that happen?
I still remember sitting down meeting with the mayor to talk through this whole project, and the thing that really caught his eyes or his ears, I think, was the idea that we needed to support our supervisors and managers to become strong coaches. But you can't really do that if you're not going to spend time practicing the work itself and having the supervisors practice the work along with the CPS, the Child Protective Staff.
And practice the skills learned in those classrooms through simulation with actors, so that when you're going on the job, you have already actually been on the job, but you're practicing as if you were on the job.
So that really became the key, was to figure out how do we do simulation learning, for example, and classroom learning that integrates these people from all different points in the system and different points in the hierarchy within the office.
I think it's fair to say that the collaboration between the James Satterwhite Academy and the Workforce Institute is essential.
JSA worked with Workforce Institute, in a collaborative way, with the vision to have a state-of-the-art facility and receive learners, CPS and youth development specialists that were doing this hard work.
We partnered with our existing colleagues, James Satterwhite Academy, to continue the legacy of providing training to child welfare and juvenile justice staff. We know that training is the vehicle to change. Training is the vehicle to empower our families and our community.
I have been waiting for this to happen for years and years and years.
We set out, 6 years ago now to set up a group of new training spaces as part of the much larger project to strengthen the career-long development of our child welfare staff and our juvenile justice staff.
In order to do that, we came up with the plan to develop these centers throughout the city.
The original task on this project was twofold. One was to immediately identify 5 locations, 1 per borough, where the rollout of the new focus of training could happen. We tweaked and built out sort of the 5 sites. And then through this process, we discovered that Union Hall actually was the best site for us to develop the main training center.
So I brought Susan into the project, and I had complete confidence in her ability to really see a project through and take and get to the details, to the things that nobody else is thinking about.
We all worked together to come up with a program and an objective. And it was a very fluid process. Originally, there wasn't a moot court, but then you realize, that was a scenario that ought to be part of the training. So we added a moot court. We originally had 1 apartment at Union Hall, and then we discovered we really needed a second apartment.
The building itself is made up of various different buildings and building types. It required a greater understanding of the architecture, along with engineers that were involved and structural engineers.
So Tom and I reached out and brought Mike into our team, who is the AV consultant. And then it was like, what is simulation training? And how do we support it architecturally and AV-wise?
Yes, AV is playing a very important role in this entire setup here in Queens as well as in Harlem, because we try to give ACS the most modern tools available in terms of interactive presentation and giving them flexibility to run their facility here.
I would bring the rendering of this site to my supervision with Andrew White, and the two of us would just giggle. We were so excited to think something like this is going to be possible. We are going to have something that looks beautiful like this for our staff to train and for our direct service staff and supervisors to learn.
this is a huge investment for ACS. It's an investment in their people to have our workers come to a center that's clean, that's professional, that's state of the art. It says to them that they matter and that their work matter and that we're investing in you because we want you to be not only effective in your job, we want you to know that we're grateful for the work that you do on behalf of the children in the city of New York.
Many, many years ago, when the training center at ACS first got developed, one of the first directors was James Satterwhite, who had devoted his life to child welfare. He died quite young, and the site was named after him. We wanted to honor him, and we couldn't find a photo of him. I tried calling, his siblings from South Carolina to all dead end. And all that existed, or all that we could find anyway, was a pamphlet, a black and white pamphlet. It was actually in Eric Brettschneider's office in a folder on his shelf. And so Jaime, who's this architect and designer who works for Carlton Architecture, took that flyer and he drew a large rendering of James Satterwhite, which is now hanging in the center and is spectacularly beautiful.
We have spaces where during breaks, if they need to make a phone call or get on a laptop or get online, where they can leave the classroom and mingle in those kinds of ways and feel comfortable.
Here you have a typical classroom with the monitor, the screens on either side. The room itself also becomes what is known as a moot court. Here the furniture can move aside and the flooring itself has a resiliency.
The spaces are large. These are our largest classrooms, I believe, of all of our facilities across the 5 boroughs.
We have a space where our learners could come and actually have lunch, eat.
We've always considered training to be very, very important at ACS. These training facilities will really take us into the 21st century. We all know that there's a real big difference between the classroom and the real world. And these facilities will help us to bridge that gap because they'll provide us really for the first time with the ability to give staff a simulation of what it's like to be out in the field doing that work.
We've built apartments at our simulation rooms where CPS workers can practice as though they're going to visit a family. They actually go into these simulation rooms that look like little apartments that have living rooms, that have bedrooms, that have cribs where they would observe and see babies, infants, toddlers. Their medicine cabinets where they would look to ensure that the environment was safe.
So the new space affords us the opportunity to actually implement new simulation training. So this is actually a new component to our core program.
At the same time, what we have at a 4-foot height around the perimeter of the entire space are embedded cameras into the wall.
Right, and we're no longer in the room as well because we can be in the other room through the AV and all of this beautiful technology that we have now. We can leave them there and it's as if they were, right, that first day on the job.
We have 14 actors and they actually went through our 8 days of training that our learners would go through.
What is it like to become these characters? I'm trying to come up with the right word, but let's just say that there have been moments that I've cried and become emotional becoming the characters, because I really felt like that person and I knew who that person was.
A lot of them walk out of the simulation feeling like they have a real adrenaline rush and they're really excited and they're engaged.
You see the differences in the staff at that time. You see those that, okay, they got it. They were listening. They took something in, they internalized it. And you get to see those that maybe they didn't quite get it. So I feel like the possibilities are pretty much endless. You know, we want to stay on the cutting edge.
These centers and the Institute and the Academy really are at the cutting edge of child welfare services in this country. New York is really lucky to have the resources to do something like this.
I'm so delighted and honored to be part of this celebration of the opening of these new training centers. I think that the staff, the hundreds, probably thousands of staff who will be passing through these centers over the years to receive trainings, to participate in simulation activities, the experience that they will have will both make them feel valued as professionals, but will also equip them with the skills that they need to conduct the critical work and to do the really critical thinking that they need to carry out the complex responsibilities that ACS staff have. So this is going to be, I think, an important part of ACS's legacy. It will affect thousands of our staff, and through them, the lives of tens of thousands of children and families across New York City.